joined the Red Cross because I was at a stage in my life where I was needing to give back. I've been very fortunate and I wanted to share some of my gifts with people who were less fortunate than I was. But I started out by thinking I live in a hurricane area where people use the Red Cross services extensively, about once every 10 years. And started thinking about, first of all, preparing myself for a hurricane, and from that discovered all the wonderful disaster relief courses that were available and adventures that Red Cross volunteers had. So that's really why I joined, trying to find the best venue to help as many people as possible. What I discovered, this was a different thing, was that the Red Cross was much more impressive than I knew from the outside. First and foremost, the training. That you are very extensively trained in whatever volunteer job you want to do. The result of that is that the Red Cross has very few full-time employees, and you can't tell who's an employee and who's a volunteer, because the volunteers have very significant jobs. So that means that as a volunteer, you really get stretched to do whatever you want to, and encouraged to, stretch a little bit further. Well, when I went to Tuscaloosa last year, was at the end of it, I said to my daughter that I had every single boundary of my comfort zone. I pushed up against every single boundary of my comfort zone as part of that deployment. I was deployed to drive the ERV, the emergency response vehicle, and I had a very wonderful course in doing that, but I hadn't had very much experience just driving it around town. I knew I was certified, I knew what I had to do, but I hadn't had very much practice, and that was a little scary. And I walked onto the field and they said, "Oh, you're the new ERV driver, here are your keys." And I said, "Where am I going?" And they said, "Well, you've got a GPS there that's got the route already programmed into it. You're picking up an established route." But there we went out into the community, driving along on a very civilized road, and then turning right and feeling like I was not in the United States of America anymore, that I was in an old movie showing the world after some hypothetical nuclear attack, or I was in a war zone where significant bombs had been dropped. I mean, it was unearthly, and it was nice to be able to get the call, get in a vehicle, and go up there and have the training already so I could hit the ground ready to work and not waste any time. Very efficient use of volunteers. So that was an especially rewarding experience, and I think that was because we were the Red Cross, and because we were there reliably, and we provided a smile and a decent hot meal twice a day, but mostly they knew we were always going to be there. Well, I would encourage everyone to volunteer, regardless of what their life situation is. The Red Cross is by far the most effective volunteer organization I've been associated with. They are able to recognize the talents that people have and kind of tailor a volunteer job. They will find a volunteer job that gets the most out of you, even if you can only volunteer a few hours a week. They will find something that will be rewarding for you to do and valuable to the Red Cross clients. There's no question about it. So the Red Cross is an incredibly efficient user of volunteer talent, and I have also seen that they are a very efficient user of the donations that they receive. Sometimes I get aggravated by that because we're having to fill out paperwork to sometimes too many forms of the same paperwork to assure everyone that every dime is used to help people in the community, and that no that, that nothing is left unaccounted for. So that makes it easy to go forward and ask our friends if they would be willing to make a donation to the Red Cross, because I personally can assure them that there's no waste and it always goes to help the people whose needs are the greatest.